Hey YouTube, it's Mike playing Gangster, and today we're gonna have a serious talk about FIFA in general. Not only FIFA 23, but just FIFA in general, because a lot of people believe that this game is very stale. Okay, especially like for example RTGs and stuff like that, because it gets to the point where everybody's just using the same meta. Now, the problem is not actually the community when it comes to this. It's because EA doesn't do the right stuff to create change. Okay. There's three different modes in this game. Of course, we all know them: friendlies, division rivals, and foot champions. Okay. By the way, in the background, you're just watching me play a game. This is my second account. I'm just trying to get a couple wins to get some sort of rewards in division rivals. Now, that's besides the point. The biggest reason why this game is failing is because out of the three modes, believe it or not, the mode that has the most enjoyable is actually friendlies. And a lot of people are like, whoa, no, that's impossible. It's actually true, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because when you get in friendlies, there's actually teams, there's actually restrictions. It makes people use different cards. It makes people actually try different leagues, different formations, and so on. Why? Because they don't care too much about the wins or loss. They're more there just to do the objective. And a lot of these cards that they're going to be trying, most likely, a lot of them are not even going to be meta cards, but at least they're going to get to try them because they have them in the clubs. For example, SPCs or objectives, stuff that you actually complete throughout the year, or maybe like red picks that you get, or whatever it is. It makes you try different players. The problem is that division rivals and foot champs are identical. And what I mean by identical, they should be two different modes. You'd be like, well, they are two different modes. One is division rivals, one is foot champions. They're not. They're exactly the same mode, because people use the exact same team. This is why division rivals should be exactly as it is. Division rivals should be the competitive mode, where people go on and play with their best meta players and stuff like that, try to succeed and get to the highest possible skill rating, right? That should be your competitive scene there, division rivals. Foot champions, completely different. It should be a competitive mode with restrictions. And what I mean by restrictions is, as EA, you're doing a very bad job. You need to create teams the way you do in friendlies. You need to create change, okay? And this will make the game less stale. And right, and for people that are afraid of this happening because they're like, well, I have one team, I can't afford 7 teams. You don't have to afford 7 teams, okay? When it comes to like teams, for example, like friendlies, you're able to actually get into these friendly games and create like these special teams to go get these objectives. If foot champions will be in the same like mode, in a way of saying that, where you would have these teams and these restrictions, it would actually make foot champions way more enjoyable, because not only now you're going to get good rewards if you get, like, of course, good amount of wins, you also are going to get to play with different squads, different players, like things that you're going to basically, cards are just going to have, in general, more value and more pleasure to have, because they will all be used for something. And this is why you need, like, certain teams in foot champs. Every week, there should be a different team. It should either be, like, friendlies, for example, like, restrictions, like what type of leagues you could use, what type of players you have to have in your team, a rating. It could also be, for example, like what type of formation you have to play. That would be interesting. Like, let's say, for example, this foot champions weekend league would be 3 in the back formations. Make everybody use 3 in the back formations. By doing this, you're creating more of a RTG aspect to the game, where, for example, people, every little card or everything has a meaning, because everything is going towards foot champs, because every week there will be requirements that you need to create that team, and it will be fun because there will be a lot of squad builders. A lot of people are going to create, like, not only fun for, like, for example, for the community, also fun, for example, for the content creators to create different squads. And there's already creators that do this, for example, where they don't care about their winning and losses, and they just create a fun squad and they win to a weekend league. The problem is that every time you go to a weekend league, all you see is the exact same meta being played all day long. And it's like, we see this all day long in division rivals. Why do we have to see this in foot champs? Guys, don't worry about it. as much as you want to play with your meta teams, you could go in division rivals and play as much as you want. But when it comes to foot champs, let's have a bit of an enjoyment. Let's have a little bit of fun. Let's have a bit of diversity. Let's change a bit. Let's go in and play with La Liga, Santander only squad, or for example, Liga NOS or MLS or a mix of both or One Nation or whatever it is, whatever team they want to create for that particular weekend. Let's have a little bit of enjoyment so we get to use different cards and we don't get to always encounter the exact same teams. People have no choice in this game mode, okay, when it comes to foot champs, to use the meta players if they want to have high success. People don't like going into these games handicapped. This is why by putting teams, restrictions and stuff like that every weekend league, it creates a fairness, and also I believe it creates more enjoyable for throughout the year because you get to play with certain cards that you worked for. What's the point of me going into squad ball, into friendlies, and going and get objective players that can never fit my team because they're not meta? It's completely pointless. So I'm basically going and get these objectives, get these players, basically to use them again in objectives and friendlies. Who cares? It's boring because I never really get to use them to actually challenge myself in a way that I'm competing, because automatically I handicap myself, because what am I going to face when I walk into weekend league? It's always going to be the Alans, the Mbappes, and so on, right? Everybody's going to be playing with the same 11 players, give or take, and it just gets to a point where it's like every game that you're playing between division rivals and weekend league is the exact same fucking teams that you're encountering, the same fucking meta that you're encountering every day, same formation, and it creates this toxic community where a lot of people just have hatred for EA, for the game EA. It doesn't take much for you to create these teams. If you're able to create them in friendlies, creating them in weekend league will not break your game, okay? It will actually give your game a longer length because more people will stick around for longer, because there will be particular weekend leagues where people will be very, very, very interested in playing because they're going to get to use like their, I don't know, whatever, Benjuma, or not Benjuma, but like, you know what I mean, like special cards from different leagues, or special cards that are just not meta, that, you know, like different strikers, different center backs, so on. It just creates, I feel, more of a fun environment. And this is what the game is missing. For me, this is the biggest reason why EA Sports fails at FIFA. Not because of the gameplay aspect, because we all